Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Hope everybody's off to a great start. We got Monday Night Football to talk about. Mike Felder going to get into some college football over the weekend. A fun, jam-packed, with ranked opponents slate that we have yet to discuss. We also have to touch on the University of Tennessee before they get back into SEC East play here this weekend. Mike Felder will be here in 20 minutes to do just that. You got the phone number. If you don't, it's real easy. 615-737-1045 or in the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Good morning, bud. How are we?
Good morning.
So, Joe Burrow plays last night. He leads his team to a win, 19-16. Does that score sound familiar?
Stop.
What's wrong? What happened? What happened there? I didn't do anything. I just said, does that score sound familiar? What are you doing?
There's no need for any of that.
I'm not doing anything. What are you doing? What, you don't think we're going to get the PTSD this week anyway? Bengals coming to town. Joe Burrow, he looks banged up. He looks not right. This is a perfect opportunity to strike. Oh, no. We'll get to oh no at 10:45. Perhaps that's your oh no of the sports week. But 19-16 over the Los Angeles Rams, 8 days after he re-aggravated the right calf strain that he's been working through. I don't know if we talked about it here on the radio show or if this was a conversation that I was having in a group text or something like that. But the idea that would it be worth playing him?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Okay, so would it be worth playing him given that they're down 0-2 to start the season? It's an NFC opponent, so it's not going to be as costly. But the division, every other team is 2-1. So can you afford to go down 0-3? Do you have that luxury if you're the Cincinnati Bengals? Ultimately, they and he decided no. They did not have that luxury. He went out there. He didn't look great. He didn't look mobile.
Missed some throws.
Missed a lot of throws, particularly the stuff more than 10 yards downfield.
Didn't get some help from T. Higgins.
Oh, my God, T. Higgins.
That's dropsies.
It was not Kadarius Toney. Was it Kadarius Toney with the Chiefs in week one?
Week one, yeah. Well, he dropped the one that ended up in a pick six.
Right. Well, he had several drops throughout the course of the game. It was Kadarius Toney-esque from T. Higgins last night. The Eagles game moving to 3-0. We don't need to get into the Eagles and Bucks. It wasn't terribly competitive. Eagles front was in Baker's face all night long. Made it really, really difficult for them to move the ball. They had a little bit of success. It felt like at the start of the third quarter, but it was just not close. The Eagles' offensive line against the Bucks front, my God.
Yeah, they're moving people.
I saw a lot of people, because DeAndre Swift, do we regard DeAndre Swift as a good NFL running back? Because the Lions got rid of him with a quickness this offseason. Now, they ultimately drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. That looks like it's going to be an okay fit for them. I'm sure we'll talk about Detroit punking Atlanta. A lot of people, not just the Titans. Titans did too, but a lot of people this weekend got punked in the NFL. Falcons were one of them. But do we consider DeAndre Swift to be a good running back?
Well, he is the second lead rusher in the NFL behind Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay. Last night, 16 carries, 130 yards. A.J. Brown leading the Eagles, 9 catches for 131 yards. Jalen Hurts had a couple of turnovers, a couple of interceptions in particular, but found his footing. They obviously got into a groove, and like I said, they were moving people out of the way. I saw a lot of people. I can't remember what the down and distance was of one of these Swift carries. Also, by the way, just tremendous comedy by the Philadelphia Eagles, putting Jason Kelce, next to DeAndre Swift in their jerseys, Kelce and Swift, and saying that's our favorite Kelce-Swift combination.
Yes. Well done.
Well done by them. But I saw a couple of screenshots of the holes that the Eagles' offensive line was creating for DeAndre Swift. And I think it was Warren Sharp last night on Twitter saying, how many yards would you get running through a hole like that?
Yeah, the age-old question, can the average human gain 1 yard in the National Football League? Maybe behind the Eagles' offensive line.
You look like you could drive a car through it. But, the thing that people forget is that the screenshot does not accurately portray how quickly things like that at the National Football League level get covered up, and all of a sudden you have, Jeffrey Simmons on your back. So I would say, roughly with gaps the size of a car, the size of a sedan, let's say safely, I would maybe be able to get a yard and a half. Maybe. I'm not certain. That's if I didn't slip on the turf. But for the Bengals, obviously coming in here to Nissan Stadium on Sunday, Titans could use a win. Certainly, they could use an improved performance on both offense and defense. We didn't spend a lot of time. I didn't feel like we spent enough time on the defense yesterday, especially some of the numbers that are coming out about Christian Fulton. Brother, any time that you have, I know he's played 2 of the 3 games, okay? So maybe it's a skewed sample size because it's very early on in the season. But any time that you are allowing a perfect passer rating against you, and again, this is according to Pro Football Focus, so these are not the grades that the coaches will have. They may not be as skewed one way or the other. Pro Football Focus is what it is.
The jumping off point.
158.3 is a perfect passer rating. That is what Christian Fulton is allowing to 2 quarterbacks when he is targeted in coverage.
Yet Titans fans didn't really watch that Monday Night Football game between Bengals and Rams, I assume, thinking, oh, dear God, we have to go up against Joe Burrow with that secondary. I think it was more of, oh, no, we have to go up against that Bengals front that was wreaking havoc against the Rams.
Trey Hendrickson is not Myles Garrett, but he may feel like that in just about 6 days from now.
Who was it?
It's not a text. It doesn't count. It's
what
an
is
email.
It? It's a notification. Who's
it's
it from?
No, we're not doing this.
What's the content of the email?
Oh, okay. This is funny. NFL Communications. You want me to read the email?
Sure.
These are always fun.
Yeah, go ahead.
The NFL Foundation announces enhanced support of Polynesian Football Hall of Fame.
Nice.
Yeah. There's a memo about it being a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And its charitable mission is to preserve, promote, and serve as a resource for Polynesian football history. Very nice.
Fantastic.
Okay.
The Bengals held the Rams to 1 for 11 on 3rd down.
Yep. Not good. Matt Stafford was in hell. Dan Orlovsky could not stop talking about how much that left tackle for the Rams needed help.
Oof.
And Sean McVay, like one of the more head-scratching coaching performances from Sean McVay, when with the opportunity to bring the game just a little bit closer. When you have, I think they only had 1 timeout left by the time they got it to the 1st and goal situation, and then ran the football
Yeah.
to kill precious time off the clock. Maybe, listen, you've got to be able to run the football inside of 20 yards. This is something that every NFL team understands.
Well, you're talking about like on the goal line.
Yeah. So, I mean, reasonably, maybe he thought that they could have got it. I don't know why when you saw the kind of night that the Bengals front was having against the Rams offensive line. I think that is maybe one of those situations that a coach would say, well, it's easy to second guess when you have the results in hand, and also everybody can acknowledge, buddy, you're under 2 minutes. You're under 1:30. Probably don't run the football in that spot. Incompletion stops the clock.
Well, none of it matters unless you get the onside kick. And if you get the onside kick, you're a couple completions away from being in field goal range to tie it up with the timeout in your back pocket.
There was only 1 timeout left, I believe.
The Rams had 1 yet.
For the Rams, yeah. So your point is well taken. Still, in the interest of time, to give yourself the best possible chance, it did seem very non-McVay-ish, I guess, is the word that I would use. So that is the next opponent. They get their first win of the season. Joe Burrow is clearly not right. And he's saying last night to Lisa Salters in the post-game Monday Night Football interview that we got through it, right? We got through tonight. Well, we'll continue to manage it and get through it as best we can. But right now it is a getting through it process for Joe Burrow and this calf strain. If he is not mobile, that should play into your favor. He was not mobile last night. And Aaron Donald was finding, and Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. Now, you theoretically have one of those guys. And I think the thing that sticks out to me about like what the Browns front did and what the Titans do at their best is it's not just Myles Garrett in a flow state, right? Where he is just everywhere all at once and making your life a living hell with relative ease. It's the fact that across from Myles Garrett, because they've had Myles Garrett. This is not some new, we're not like learning about Myles Garrett, 6 years, 7 years into his NFL career? We know that Myles Garrett is this. The question was, could they find the complementary piece? It was supposed to be Clowney last year, right? Zadarius Smith is also winning on the opposite side of the opposing offensive line from Myles Garrett.
It helps when your secondary is elite as well.
Because the secondary is elite, but I'm just talking about Titans and Browns specifically. When they're missing some parts, secondary has a lot of confidence, absolutely. And when you have that kind of front, you should. But Zadarius Smith, like when I went back and watched the game again, watched it yesterday morning before we came in here, did the radio show, had the opportunity to watch it back with some free time yesterday afternoon. Moments where Tannehill would feel Garrett because Dillard, you know, if you're Tannehill, if you're the Titans coaching staff, one would think that Dillard is going to get pushed back. So you have to be prepared to adjust. So when Ryan Tannehill makes that adjustment, but also Chris Hubbard is getting pushed back into him because Zadarius Smith has one at the same time, your ace looks amazing as Myles Garrett did and can wreak havoc. 3.5 sacks does not, you want to talk about numbers that don't tell the full story? 3.5 sacks is not indicative of how just ungodly Myles Garrett was in that game. But it's also a huge credit to Zadarius Smith and for the Browns to having that complementary piece. Titans have that. They need Harold Landry to give them more. And this is the thing that I think is worth, paying attention to. How impactful can Harold Landry be when Arden Key isn't having as much success as he did week 1 against the Saints? And Jeff and Autry are still impactful inside, but if you'll remember, and if for those of you that listen to the Lee Company pregame show with Mickey, Blaine, Kayla, and myself, I was telling the guys back here that they were working Danico Autry out pregame because he was questionable on the injury report. And I'm paying attention to this because we're out there pregame. He's on the field with the strength and conditioning staff, Frank Pirano. Vrabel is down there, and so is Rand Carthon, Todd Torricelli, the head trainer. And they're, very closely monitoring just how good Danico Autry is to go. And I'm watching this, and, they get ready they send him back into the tunnel. They're talking amongst themselves, and you see, okay, okay, well, might as well. So Danico Autry out there, but on the injury report for a reason. They weren't as impactful as inside as they needed to be. They got home, but when they did, they couldn't bring Watson down.
And Joe Burrow has shown he's mobile enough to escape pressure, right? But is that the case right now?
And that is why it's we're getting through it for the Bengals. So here is your opportunity to exercise some demons this weekend. And I'm not interested. Honestly, well, why don't we get to this later? Because I told Lucas this morning it feels like a version of BVS, and I'm really not interested in that from Titans fans this week. So we'll take a quick break from this, talk some college football with Mike Felder, get back to the battered Titan syndrome that some of you seem to be experiencing when the Cincinnati Bengals come to town.
BTS?
I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Mike Felder is going to join us here in just a moment. College football week 4. A lot of fun. One of the nightcaps, not quite the entire nightcap of the college football Saturday, but the primetime game, of course, Ohio State at Notre Dame. 2 ranked teams, a great weekend of ranked college football games across the board, but Ohio State and Notre Dame with the brands, with the environment in South Bend. You got every outlet in the world there. And Marcus Freeman, Mike, if he's not the most boneheaded coaching decision of the weekend, I don't know who is. You watch a hell of a lot more college football than I do, but I am still in shock that Marcus Freeman dropped the bag that badly.
I mean, it's one of those, here's the thing. Everybody has their personnel packages. Everybody has all these things, and just to not have enough guys. We've seen it the other way. I believe it was when Charlie Strong was at USF, and they had 13 guys on the field at one time. And to go the other way, at least one is a penalty, so you get to play again. The other one is we'll let you play like this, and guess what? They're going to take advantage of you.
It's something that, I wonder what you make of both of those head coaches, because the reason we like having Felder on at In the Bleachers is where you can follow him. Stadium, Bleacher Report, a variety of different outlets. He's also got the newsletter that you need to check out. Give you the website for that here in just a second. But because strategy is something that Mike studies and understands at a level that most of us don't. These 2 head coaches in particular, I know they're not necessarily calling the plays for their respective sides, but as in-game coaches, Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman, what do you make of those 2?
Man, Freeman, I think he lets his coordinators cook a little bit more. But the biggest thing for me, honestly, is Day. I have less of an issue with Freeman. That's a mistake that happens, and it does, and it happens, and you never want to see it happen, but literally, because I'm looking at I just got done watching the game again, so I have it pulled up already. And I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another 4, and then 2 more, and there's one guy missing, and I'm like, no, you can't do it that way. But Day, for me, it's going to be interesting. He had a generational guy in C.J. Stroud, fantastic football player, but now he's got a regular guy. And I think what we see with the regular guy in Ryan Day is what gives me more pause than Marcus Freeman having this, basically this is a clerical error, right? This is when you go to do your taxes and there's one receipt you didn't bring. And so you're like, hang on. I can fix this. With Ryan Day, it's micromanagement. And that's something we saw it with Justin Fields. We've seen it with C.J. Stroud. And that's the part to me that I don't know if you can fix micromanaging guys. That's the part that gives me more pause about and surrounding Ryan Day than it does with Marcus Freeman. Freeman lets his guys cook. And realistically, this is a game that they should have won. It's a game that they stopped Ohio State. If you score 17 points in modern college football, if 17 points is the number, then your offense let you down, but your defense did a good job. And defense is the thing that Marcus Freeman, that's the thing he lays his hat on. So for me, it's Ryan Day with some of the micromanagement, because I thought they had opportunities in this game to open it up, but he keeps trying to call the perfect play and instead of just letting his quarterback call a play.
Is that the best win of the college football season, Mike? Does that surpass Texas at Alabama?
Oh, wow. Man, yeah, that's a hard question. That is yes, I do think. I think it's the best one of the season.
Really?
At Alabama. Yeah, I do. Here's the thing. We got to look at it on 2 levels. Texas beating Alabama is a bigger win for them than Ohio State beating Notre Dame. It is a bigger win for them.
Yeah.
Because Texas, they're a team that, listen, we saw them play against Wyoming. That wasn't great. And they were okay against Baylor. I know they pushed the number, but at the end of the day, they were not super good against them either. So I think for Texas, it's good for them to build their confidence. So for Texas specifically, bigger win, because Ohio State expected to walk in there and walk the dog on Notre Dame, but all they had to do was survive to get a win, and they survived. They showed that they can survive. But in the landscape of college football, it's a better win because I think Notre Dame's probably a better team than Alabama right now.
So does that give Ohio State the best resume in college football this year? And if you could wipe away any preseason polls, anything that we knew or thought we knew leading into the season, and just go based off of results, who's your number one team in the country right now?
Washington. The Huskies, Michael Penix. Listen, let me tell you something.
Mike, you don't understand. You can't see us, but like the way that I just almost dropped my phone.
Why are you surprised by that? Washington's been pulverizing everything in their path.
No, I understand. Yeah. I understand. And Lucas has had to explain this to me a couple of times, Mike, because Michael Penix played at my alma mater, and I said, the Indiana guy is a Heisman candidate? Go ahead. I'll get out of your way.
Hang on. Let me ask you this. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, even Oregon, who they're going to have to play no matter what.
Yeah.
What team is signing up to play Washington right now?
Nobody.
No one. They are the team in the country right now that no one would ever sign up to play. No one would sign up to play Washington right now. That they are a buzzsaw, and they are absolutely just straight through. And I think Oregon. I don't think Oregon's number 2, but I'd throw Georgia at 2. But Washington, Georgia, then I throw Ohio State in there, and probably Oregon next. And then Texas maybe at 4 or 5. That's what I'm thinking, because you've got to look at what we're dealing with. The Pac-12's they got quarterbacks for days. It's scary. Bo Nix had to move out to move up. And he did, and it's working. And then Dan Lanning's got that defense cooking. The way they shut down Colorado was unbelievable. I was not prepared for that at all. I thought Colorado was still going to score 30 points. And then they were like, no, absolutely not today. Not on us. Do it on somebody else, but don't do it on our time. So, yeah, I think Washington has been the most impressive football team. They've been the most sound football team. Their defense is slowly coming around. They're getting better defensively, but offensively. And this is we're talking today's college football. If we were talking about something, 15 years ago? Georgia, number 1. Sure. Easy. And Georgia's still number 1 right now. No problem. But in today's college football, I still don't know if Georgia's going to be able to score 45 points when they play, whether it's Tennessee or when they get into a ball game against a team like a Washington in the playoffs. I want to watch them be able to score 40 points against a team that's got a pulse.
Former Tennessee commit Michael Penix. Does that hurt you, Lucas?
Many moons ago. that was a lifetime ago.
Michael Felder here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Okay, so if Washington's 1, is Florida State 2?
I would go Georgia, then Florida. I forgot about Florida State, right? So I would go Georgia. I would go Georgia 2. I said Oregon 3. I think Florida State is in the mix with Ohio State, right? And they're not perfect. They're flawed, but certainly they're a team that can absolutely play. They just got to get it on track. The difference between seeing the LSU game, then watching the BC game, oh my goodness, where I guess in theory you can explain it away by saying, well, they got up 31-10 and then they took their foot off the gas. Yeah, but champions don't take their foot off the gas, baby. That doesn't happen. So you got to deal with that. And then you watch them beat Clemson, and certainly that game felt like it was a bigger gap between the two teams than even what the final score said. And then so Florida State, I love Jordan Travis. I want him to stay healthy. And I got into it. Some guy sends me a message on X or whatever we're calling it now. He's like, he should be running. He's not running. And I was like, did you not see Jordan Travis get his whole shoulder broken off?
Yeah.
Running's not the answer. He needs to not run. And that changes their offense. So until he's healthy, and obviously when you're dealing with something that looks like this is self-diagnosis as someone who's had multiple of these injuries. I've had a dislocated shoulder. I've had a subluxed shoulder. I've had a sprained AC joint. You just have to deal with managing pain. And he's going to have to deal with that until it feels better. And it's never going to feel better because you got to play a football game every weekend. So he's going to have to deal with that every weekend, and it does change the complexion of their offense. I think they're in there, though. I think Oregon's in there. I think that it's going to be interesting to see. Honestly, I want to get you guys' thoughts about Alabama, because I feel like the USF game was Nick Saban sending a message to people like you and me, right, to media members, but also to fans who kept calling for Buckner and kept calling for Simpson. And he's like, okay, I'll give you the guys you want. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, but the Alabama thing, though, Mike, I think, and I understand that that's Nick Saban is certainly not beyond that. But the Alabama USF result was one of the more jarring college football games that I can remember watching, just because, like, it's really hard for me to sit in front of a microphone and evaluate effort in any kind of professional sports setting. Like, I think people do it way too often. I think people do it recklessly. But that was jarring to me to see a kind of lifeless team, and I don't know if that's effort or something else that I'm not properly identifying, but that's not something that I associate with Alabama football. Now, maybe his team didn't like the message that he was sending to everybody else with the Buckner decision, just to kind of showcase, okay, look at this. Tell me this is what I need to be doing as opposed to what I'm actually doing. Because Milroe, while he's got his flaws, there's no question that he can make electric plays.
Yeah, so here's the thing I think, and I'm not policing effort at all. I think, listen, the effort that defense gave, the effort that defense has given them consistently is remarkable. And I love what they bring coming out of that tunnel. I think it's a message that has to be sent to Jalen Milroe. Hey, man, if you make mistakes, we're going to lose. We have to have you. You matter so much to us that we can't have you out there freelancing, willy-nilly, doing whatever. So I'm going to show you what we get. And then it's also a message to the media, stop asking me about this quarterback situation. I know who the guy is. That's why I put him out there in the first game. I know who he is. You want to see the other guys? Sure, I'll show you the other guys. This is a game, realistically, South Florida, they could have won the game without throwing a single pass. And it was one of those things where they had to go through this. Milroe, man, that kid's a warrior, dude. Like, the hits that he's taken behind an offensive line that still has not come together they are brutal. And so it's going to be interesting to see what this looks like going forward. But they're going to play, Spencer Hall? They're going to play murder ball, basically, right? It's going to be hand it off, 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 hand it off. Roydell, Jace, Roydell, Jace, Roydell, Jace, Jalen, and then all of a sudden a play action pass that gets them a big play down the field to Burton or something. But at the end of the day, this is a team. I think Nick Saban loves his team because they're defense forward. I think he also loves it because he has the coach. And I think he likes to work. Like, this is one of those guys, reminds me of my dad, reminds me of my grandpa, where when things are easy, they don't like it. When things get hard, like the easy button for him, he don't like that. He likes when he's got to work. And he's going to have to work all year to get this team to an SEC championship game.
Mike, did you raise your eyebrows at Tennessee as an 11.5-point favorite at home against South Carolina?
Yeah, that one felt very interesting, to say the least. Because, I mean, the ball, like, you guys are closer there than I am. Like, what are the balls going to, like, are they going to be good? Are they going to score 1 million points and use speed and space? Is that going to work? Or is South Carolina going to make this game short? Because remember, South Carolina, what was it, 2 weeks ago, they played Georgia, and they were kind of wheeling and dealing, and they were leading at half. They led at halftime. They just don't have the depth to go the distance. But with Tennessee, it's not the same as playing against a Georgia team. They just continue to throw bodies at you.
Mike, they don't trust him to work the intermediate stuff. It's crazy to me. Yeah. And I don't know if it's purely a Milton thing. I don't know if Heupel said that there was some miscommunications on route concepts with the wide receiver. So I don't want to pin it all on Joe just because I don't know everything that goes into every play call that they have. You can't. We're not in the meeting rooms. But, they just can't get anything done in the intermediate.
Yeah, it's all or nothing. For them, it really does feel like all or nothing. It's either a throw that's for -1 yards that ends up getting 7 yards on one of those screen plays, or it's, hey, this ball's going to go 45 yards down the field, and we'll do that. And that intermediate spot is where you make your hay. That's where you make linebackers pay. And that's the part we have to see them evolve in, and maybe that's an issue of touch. Maybe it is some miscommunication. Maybe it is some wide receivers who aren't sure what they're supposed to do. Because remember, we are talking about wide receivers. I understand Squirrel's there, and I understand what they have, but these guys, they lost Tillman, they lost Hyatt, they lost 2 guys that were high level understanding, hey, I need to break this route off. And for folks that don't know this, there is a lot of combo routes where in a combo route is your route's based on the safety. Your route's based on the corner and what they do, and then you break that route off, or then you bend that route inside and you do those things. So we don't get to see that because we're not in the meeting room. So that also could be another element of this offense that might be unlocked the longer these guys play together and get to know each other.
He's Mike Felder. At In the Bleachers is where you can follow him for all the great college football content that he is producing, all the analysis and everything that he is putting out there. At In the Bleachers is where you go. Buddy, appreciate your time as always, and we'll chat again soon.
Sounds good, man. It's always good to talk to you. You guys have a great day. I mean, listen, let's have it Tuesday. I'm about to go on a 5-mile run.
Oh, whoa! What is this? Are you training for something? Is that like I'm familiar with your cooking abilities. I did not know that you were offsetting it with 5-mile runs.
Yeah, it's a thing I started out when I moved back home to Charlotte. I started just walking. I was doing 2 miles every morning, and then I started doing 3 miles, and then I started adding running into it, and I was like, if I can do 3 miles in an hour, just like, like jog, run, walk, because I still got to walk down the hills, but these knees ain't what they used to be. But then I was like, I can do 4 miles in an hour. And then I was like, I can do 5 miles in an hour. And so the next thing for me is I'm going to do 6 miles an hour. That's a 10-minute pace. I can knock that out with the walking down the hills and still pick up a little bit of speed. So, yeah, that's me. I'm him. I'm that guy.
Yeah, you are. Let's go at In the Bleachers.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Damn right, Pete Weber. That's Mike Felder with us. Go kick those miles ass, Mike. Love that for you.
Thank you, guys. Y'all take it easy.
Wouldn't catch me dead running 6 miles anywhere.
Your face when he said Washington
I was like, what?
as his number one team in the country.
Rex Road is texting us, watch college football one time, Buck. And listen, I will admit, I have not watched Michael Penix play yet. I really haven't. And Lucas,
Even last season?
Lucas, no, buddy, I'm watching the SEC games. If there's a big ranked matchup, I'll put it on. Otherwise, I'm getting ready for Sunday. Most college football Saturdays. So it's not a cop out. I should have watched them by now. Clearly, when we've talked about this quarterback as a Heisman Trophy finalist and somebody who is going to factor in a real way in the best quarterback conference all of the sudden in the sport.
Right.
So this is a failure by me. I'm willing to admit.
And they are at the forefront of that. Like when we whisper into microphones, is the Pac-12 the best conference in college football? Washington is at the forefront. They are carrying the flag for the Pac-12 right now. And then it's USC and it's Oregon. Washington has looked like the best team in that conference and arguably the best team in the country. Obviously, the rest of the schedule is going to play that out in what is a brutal Pac-12 slate.
We at least for me, I hyper-focus so much on the SEC because of what we do here that I shouldn't let stuff like that fall through the cracks. And if I catch, the odd Utah game so I can talk about it with Peyton, then we can make fun of me acting like I'm a Utah fan for 2 weeks. But that's fine.
That's another one. Utah, the Pac-12 team nobody's talking about, who doesn't even have their starting quarterback back.
I love on the promos, because that game I was watching, I love on the promos for Utah, they're showing both the quarterbacks when they're coming back in from commercial break. Cousin Cam Rising. Anyway, 615-737-1045 is the number. What in sports made you say, oh no, this week? We'll do that next. Welcome back. No need to waste time. Let's go ahead and hit the music, shall we? You ready?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Real easy. What in sports made you say, oh no, this week? There's no time to screw around because we got too many things that made me say, oh no, this weekend. A lot of people got punked in the NFL. Nobody, not the Tennessee Titans, not the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody got punked harder than did the Denver Broncos at Miami on Sunday afternoon. I know a lot of Dolphins fans. One of my college roommates went to Miami. I've got a bachelor trip party coming up after the Super Bowl with a bunch of them. They don't know how to handle themselves. They've been miserable. They've been watching. We mentioned 16-19 with the Bengals and the Rams last night. They've been watching 16-19 games for as long as they can remember. All of a sudden, they scored 10 damn touchdowns in a game. 10 touchdowns. They got 5 more offensive yards in a game on Sunday against the Denver Broncos than the Tennessee Titans do this entire season. Through 3 weeks of football, the Tennessee Titans have not amassed enough or as much offense as have the Miami Dolphins in one game against the Denver Broncos. Tua was pressured on 7% of his dropbacks. Denver didn't have a quarterback hit.
Oof.
Not one hit. The Miami Dolphins, they've kind of been the Titans offensive line-wise, like chasing, trying to get guys. They're the dudes that traded for Isaiah Wilson. That's how down bad the Dolphins were, okay? All of a sudden, they got Kendall Lamb running dudes over in ways that are shocking to me. I don't know what to do with Sean Payton. Listen to Sean Payton. This is one of the funniest press conference exchanges I've ever heard in my life after getting 70 hung on him.
I know that you said it's embarrassing, but this is kind of an historic game.
I'm more.
Third time the team has scored 70 points over 7.
What's the question?
I mean,
What's the
how do
question?
you feel about it being
I just finished telling you.
Historically embarrassing.
Next question.
I love that reporter. I don't know who that is. Give that guy the Peabody. Sean, I know you just told me that it was embarrassing. And Payne says, I know, I just told you. How do you feel about it being historically embarrassing? You might as well have said, how do you feel about being clowned? Are you happy to be back in professional football after spending a year in the comfort of television? You know, Sean Payton said last year on Fox that he wouldn't be surprised if Teddy Bridgewater replaced Tua. How quickly can you get pantsed in the NFL? That quickly. Welcome back, Sean Payton.
Well, and speaking of embarrassing.
Wait, give me the TikTok. I earned the TikTok on that one.
Fair enough.
We got to be better about the TikTok.
70 points. You know what the NFL record is for points in a game?
More than 70.
72. It happened in like the 40s or something. I don't know. But Mike McDaniel had an opportunity because they were in field goal range when they finally decided to take a knee. So it's almost more disrespectful to run it all the way up to 70 and not even do it because you're trying to break the record. When that record is sitting right in front of you, you say, no, we're going to take a knee here. We've done enough. We were playing this game yesterday, going back and forth with putrid stats from the Titans' loss in Cleveland. How about this one? The Miami Dolphins gained 726 total yards yesterday as an offense. 350 rush yards in an NFL game. But 726 rush yards, or total yards for the Dolphins yesterday. Can you tell me how many total yards the Titans have through 3 games?
I already gave the stat, 721.
When did you give that stat?
While you were on the phone.
Ah, man.
Oh, no.
Sometimes I just miss things.
Tom Pelissero is also reporting that several Indianapolis Colts players have been suspended for games.
Well, we already talked a little bit about Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame's debacle with 10 men on the field and 2 critical plays at the end of the game. Ohio State on the goal line, and Marcus Freeman, his reasoning saying he didn't want to take the penalty, so they just ate it. They just ate it. They said, we got to go with the 10 men, try and get a stop. Obviously, they don't, and Ohio State wins the football game. That is my oh no of the weekend.
That's
but
bad.
Also Lou Holtz, who was out there calling out Ohio State, calling them soft, saying that Notre Dame's the tougher team, has the better offensive line. Listen to Ryan Day fired up with NBC postgame after Ohio State punches it in South Bend for the win.
Toughness, that's it. Physicality, across the board, finish it off, having guts. You know, like I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
What did they prove to you tonight in this victory that you'll take away and run with?
Toughness. So everybody's questioning these kids all the time. We had one bad half the last couple years. That's it. Everybody wants to question these guys. These guys are warriors right here to come back and win. This kid right here to come back in the second half and win. I'm emotional about this for a reason. A lot of people question these kids and say a lot of things about them. I love them. When someone attacks your family, to come in and win like this is special. It's a great win for our program and a great win for Ohio State.
Man, I've never seen Ryan Day like that after a game.
I love that college football coaches are out here cutting wrestling promos.
And he's right that people have been questioning. This isn't just Lou Holtz bringing this up.
No,
People
no.
have been
And-
saying this about Ohio State for a couple of years.
It's fair criticism.
I agree. Ohio State kind of got punked by Michigan, who's routinely had the best offensive line in the country for the last few years, in back-to-back years. Ohio State, I don't think you could question their toughness in that loss to Georgia in the shootout in the playoff semifinal, but they were on the losing end. So, yeah, coming in, I agree with you. I think it's totally fair. I also think Ryan Day has every right to come out fired up like that after using that toughness on the goal line to punch it in against 10-man Notre Dame, where, by the way, Ohio State had opportunities in that game on fourth and shorts, on goal-to-go situations where they're throwing screens, they're throwing incomplete passes.
That's why I asked Felder about Ryan Day as an in-game coach. I couldn't believe some of the decision-making in short yardage.
I'm saying if your whole thing here is to prove your toughness, then do it. Prove it. And they do it at the end. They're aided a little bit by Notre Dame and botching 10 men on the field.
Bit.
I don't know if that's worse than Derek Dooley, Tennessee, 2010, with too many men on the field.
It's a pretty damn bad way to lose.
Yeah, it's right up there. So, yeah, my oh no has to go to Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame and Ohio State and Ryan Day on the winning side. Lou Holtz, man. Bulletin board material.
I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. He's asleep.
What is it, 10:30? He's been asleep for hours.
Ryan, he's 86 years old. Stop yelling at Lou Holtz. It was, honestly, people started asking, the question on Twitter because then it becomes a funny internet joke. Where I would also like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. And then immediately somebody made the joke, where's oh my God, I can't, Mark May.
Wow.
Where's Mark May?
Yeah.
We need them back right now.
I missed that show.
It was a great show. Reese Davis.
Yeah. Mark May, Lou Holtz. They had the
make college football great again.
Oh, what was the where Reese Davis would put on the judge costume? And what was that segment called where they did?
Can't remember.
Man. So good.
Todd in the F&M Bank chat says was waiting for the Howard Dean yell at the end of the Ryan Day spiel. Do you remember Howard Dean? And we're going to take the White House back. Yeah. Single-handedly lost him the election. That unhinged yell. All right, Kyle in Nashville has an oh-no. Kyle.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, so my oh no this week is the Oregon Duck pregame. Got a little too excited celebrating or getting ready for the game and was beating a clock up that set prime time with a baseball bat, and his head fell off, and then he's scurrying back to to the locker room to cover it up. But that's my oh no. Thanks, guys.
That's a great one.
It was so funny the way he scurried back.
It's like when a mime speaks. Like they just immediately retreat
Everybody
in shame.
at Autzen Stadium in shock and horror. Yeah.
You mean there's a kid in there?
It's the pregame hype and chest pumping of destroying the primetime clock, and then it all just being wiped away by the head falling off and him running away. It was so good.
It was the best. I mean, by the way, just to say quickly, because we didn't talk about Oregon drubbing Colorado in ways that anybody who's watched college football, we'll do it when we get to Heisman watch because we're too short here, and I need to make fun of this whole situation. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Monday night, Week 3, ended with a doubleheader as the Eagles improved to 3-0 with a 25-11 win over the Bucs, and the Bengals got their first win of the season, 19-16 over the LA Rams before they come down to Nashville. Bengals playing the Titans in Week 4. Mike Vrabel met with the media on Monday, wrapping up the 27-3 loss in Cleveland. He was asked about the message that he wanted players to take away after the game.
And we'll find out, what kind of football team we have this week, what kind of individuals, what type of people we have here, which I believe in, and who we are. So, that was my message. Wouldn't have a whole lot to say, give them all credit, get back to work, and don't think that anybody did enough to help us win.
Titans made a transaction on Monday, signing safety Dane Cruikshank to the practice squad. Cruikshank was a 2018 fifth-round pick by the Titans and was with the team through the 2021 season. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour. Welcome in. Welcome back. Happy to have you. 615-737-1045. That's the number. Get in there if you want to. Back to the Titans here in just a little bit. Off today. Back on the practice field tomorrow. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill at the podium. Lucas and I were talking about this because we do a weekly Titans player interview, and we were debating amongst ourselves who you guys actually want to hear from. So we're open to suggestions. Right now, the leader in the clubhouse is Sean Murphy-Bunting, because I think there's, some questions that are worth asking about the secondary and the performance right now. And also, I thought that while the defense didn't have an overwhelmingly good day, I think that Murphy-Bunting is worth checking in on. We had a good conversation with him at training camp, so maybe he's worth bringing back. But if you disagree, if you want to hear from somebody else, let us know. At Buck Rising, at Lucas Panzica on Twitter. So, we're going to do a Heisman watch every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Now, Lucas brought up with Felder the idea of Washington being the best football team in the country right now, that Michael Penix should be the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy through 4 weeks of college football. The betting, the sports books, and it depends where you look, but I'm just looking at Fox Sports Bet right now, they would still favor Caleb Williams, the defending Heisman Trophy winner, even though USC did not look good against Arizona State this weekend. Caleb Williams was not the problem. They're saying kind of holding serve right now is Caleb Williams. Other sports books might disagree.
He had 5 total touchdowns against Arizona State. The offense did stall out a couple of times, and when the offense started to click near the end of the game is where the defense just looked awful. Just could not tackle to save their lives, and USC wins by a couple scores.
So if Penix is 2, is Quinn Ewers at Texas now 3 in the Heisman Trophy watch? Texas is, they blew out Baylor over the weekend. What do I do with Baylor? Preseason rankings don't apply.
They're a strange one. Lost to Texas State. To start the year, you almost knock off a good Utah team at home, but fall short in that game. Yeah, they just keep finding themselves on the losing end. But Quinn Ewers a candidate. A good question would be, I suppose Ewers is the best candidate outside of the Pac-12. Because that's the question I was going to pose here. Outside of the Pac-12, where it's Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix, who's had a fantastic start to the season, diced up Colorado in a game that just was over from the moment it started on Saturday in Eugene. So I guess that is the answer to that. Probably.
Well, I mean, it could. Sam Hartman's going to take a hit here because Notre Dame lost, but it's not Sam Hartman's fault they lost.
No, but it is a numbers game, and Sam Hartman still hasn't thrown an interception. Numbers still look good, so you could still say he's in the race. But there's no question, I think, that the top 3 guys in this race should be Michael Penix, who leads the nation in passing yards and passing touchdowns, Caleb Williams, and I'd argue Bo Nix.
Man, that's wild.
And then on top of that, here comes Cameron Ward as Washington State is having a fantastic season, and Ward is third in the country in passing yards. He's third in the country in passing touchdowns, and he's just having a phenomenal season. Or fourth in the country in touchdowns, excuse me. But everything's happening in the Pac-12 right now.
He had a great game, obviously, against Colorado, which, by the way, where does Shedeur Sanders factor in if we're talking Pac-12 quarterbacks in the Heisman Trophy race?
Numbers
Colorado loses 42-6.
Yeah.
He is just getting bludgeoned behind an offensive line that is not equipped to deal with Oregon right now. Dan Lanning's defense is legit. And we knew that this was probably going to be a lopsided result. Oregon was favored by how many coming into the game?
It was a 3-touchdown favorite.
Okay, so that it ended up being obviously much more than that. Shedeur was 23 of 33, 159 yards and a touchdown, which came, I think, with like the final 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes remaining to keep them from getting shut out.
Shedeur was impossible to keep out of the Heisman conversation through the first 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Just what Colorado was doing, the numbers he was putting up. He's still second in the nation in passing yards. He's completed 77% of his passes. But after watching that on Saturday and Colorado coming a little bit back down to earth, which makes sense, like that was not a shocking result. It is more shocking what Colorado was able to do through the first 3 weeks, and it's a credit to Deion. But I think people saw that and said, okay, all right, we'll probably see. That's probably more of what we'll see against USC and against the powers of the Pac-12. Shedeur's going to have some big games, but as Colorado reverts back to the mean and trends back towards being that 6-6, 7-5 maybe type of team that before the season you would have said would be an incredible accomplishment and still is, then I do think that slowly pulls him out of the Heisman race.
You want to talk about the tweets you were sending me that people were opining about on social media during the Colorado-Oregon game?
What do you mean?
The tweets of people who were on both sides, let's say, where you've got, for example, CBS's Josina Anderson talking about, would Dan Lanning be speaking like this if Deion had Travis Hunter out there?
Yeah. Lanning's pregame speech went a little bit viral.
Well, it's nonsense because the whole speech is we're here for wins, not for clicks, and it's the most viral thing that results out of that game other than whatever Deion had to say post-game in response.
Yeah. That is pretty funny. Would he be saying that if Travis Hunter? Yeah.
Yes, he would.
Result would be not one bit different. But Tyler on the FNM Bank chat says FanDuel has Shedeur Sanders at plus 20,000 to win the Heisman.
20,000? Are we sure it's plus 20,000?
That might be a typo. I'll double check.
Oh, plus 20. Where are you getting plus 20,000 odds anywhere?
Yeah, I'm going to say plus 2. I'm probably plus 2,000.
Yeah, that would sound more realistic.
But he says it's the same as Joe Milton.
Well, that's probably fair. Milton has deficiencies. Shedeur, whether his deficiencies are his own or his roster's, that's probably fair.
It was an interesting watch on Saturday with Tennessee because in the first half, they were everything that you wanted to see, right? Everything that you needed to see from this offense happened throughout the course of the first half.
He had an 81-yard rushing touchdown.
On play number 1.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it just sparked the offense, and they looked like, there it is. Okay, there it is for the first time this season. And then they just didn't really come out in the second half, and they stalled out a little bit. And Milton's banged up.
Right. So let me say this, because I don't want to make any harsh judgments. I was saying this with Felder too, because he seemed just as confused by Tennessee as the rest of us are right now. I don't know how hurt Joe Milton is. Is he on track? Do we know? And we'll check in with Adam Sparks, I'm sure, later in the week of the Knoxville News Sentinel.
It is 20,000, by the way, plus 20,000.
Oh my God. So is Milton on track to play against South Carolina? Because he did get hurt.
Josh Heupel said yesterday Joe Milton is good.
Okay.
Yeah, so the plan is for Joe Milton to play. Now, Josh Heupel told us, Cooper Mays, hope to get him back week 1, right? Josh Heupel told us Cooper Mays, he'll be available at Florida, and he was there, dressed out, didn't play a snap. So we'll see. I don't know how much we need to be concerned about Joe Milton getting banged up. He got bent. Like, did you watch Sunday Night Football, Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yes. Oh, my God. I was watching at the airport.
Yeah, when T.J. Watt comes low and Jimmy just gets totally contorted.
Looked awful.
That's kind of what happened to Joe against UTSA, where, his lower body's going one way and his torso's being pushed back the other way. So we'll see. He came out in the second half with the brace, was not sharp in the third quarter. They were able to run the ball. They kind of get right. You know, he hit some passes in the fourth, and ultimately they run away. They're able to put in Nico. But I think he's going to play, and we'll see what kind of Joe Milton we get, because I think Tennessee's going to be scheming guys open, and it's just going to be about the execution against South Carolina, and obviously about the defense in what should be a revenge opportunity for that unit in the dark mode uniforms in a night game at Neyland Stadium.
Were you of the opinion, because I saw this floating around out there, that they should have just started Nico in the second half? Did you agree with that assessment? Because I saw that from Vols fans, and given the margin at halftime,
31, what was the score at halftime?
They were up by more than 3 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, the game was over at halftime.
I felt like I didn't immediately dismiss it in a way that I otherwise might, because, maybe give Milton a drive in the second half at least.
31-0 was the score.
So I didn't necessarily agree with that. I didn't fault them for not playing Nico to start the third quarter, and then obviously they struggled mightily to keep that thing on the rails. And just the drop off from half to half which is why I'm trying to not hammer Milton too hard here, because again, injury and Heupel is bringing up receivers having communication issues as well, which is good because at least they're not finger pointing, right? That would obviously be a disaster, but I don't know. They don't seem to trust him.
Yeah, the inconsistencies are there, 100%. It's just going to be about, can they overcome them enough? Can they put enough good stretches of play and timing and rhythm with the offense? Because when that happens, they are scoring in a flash, right? When it happens and when it's connecting, the Tennessee offense is scoring just like the Tennessee offense we got used to in 2022. But when it drops off, it drops off. And that's what you're trying to avoid against a South Carolina team that, has the potential to be able to score with you. Spencer Rattler, we'll talk about it more later in the week, but he's had a nice start to the season. It just doesn't really look it from the results because he's not getting a ton of help right now.
Hey, quick reminder before we tell you what's coming up next. 3HL is going to be out at Buffalo Wild Wings in Smyrna this Thursday for the Titans football feast. You can stop by for your chance to win Titans tickets and giveaways each hour. Ooh, thanks to Miller Lite and Buffalo Wild Wings. You can see the full schedule for 3HL's Buffalo Wild Wings visits at 1045thezone.com/TFF. Coming up next, speaking of the Vols, we bring up BVS, battered Vols syndrome, from time to time. I am not here for your battered Titan syndrome. I'm going to tell you why on the other side. So this is BTS. This is the pop culture phenomenon that sold out SoFi Stadium. It's K-pop, like it's Korean pop music.
My girlfriend went to that show at SoFi.
I know a lot of people did.
Yeah.
I know people that traveled from Nashville to Los Angeles specifically to attend this stadium. So why are we playing BTS?
Well, I don't know. You mentioned BTS going in.
Well, I
feel like you're the one that's bringing it up, by the way. I haven't heard anybody talk about trauma, and I feel like you're the one that's doing this.
Because I was there. I saw it. I saw it in their eyes.
Yeah, so were we.
I saw it in their faces. Were you there?
No, I was in the studio.
Okay.
I was at Titans Radio studio.
Then let me tell you, bud. All right? You have traumatic moments in your sports life. We have talked about this. The greatest source of trauma in your life, and I'm not here to like do the grief eating thing today, because I do feel like a lot of Titans fans tend to devolve into that quickly. Now, this is a format that probably encourages some of that. We have told you that, the sports talk radio and media generally, it is easier to talk about losses than it is about wins. You know all the formulas, right? You know that there is more engagement. It's like Yelp reviews. You're more inclined to leave a review if you're pissed about something rather than if you're satisfied. And that is reflected in the phone calls and the interactions and all the things. So you have told me, and you have said into the microphone, that your greatest source of trauma in your life, you've had a very fortunate childhood, all these things.
Yes.
It's just Tennessee football.
I'm very blessed.
Yes. Except for your sports team. They're your suffering, right? You carry this with you.
It's also because of the time I grew up in, right? Growing up in Birmingham when Tennessee was at its worst and Alabama and Auburn were at their best.
Lonzo says it's only battered if you let it. And I tend to agree. But listen, in fairness, this is a football team that has lost 9 of their last 10. If you are somebody who is struggling with this, I completely understand. There is going to be some of this from Titans fans when the Bengals come to town, at least in the last couple of runs, right? Because you had good shots at them both times. And one you blew definitively more than the other. It was more meaningful. It was your shot. It was the cosmos was aligning, all right? The universe was aligning. Derek's back. AJ's healthy. Julio's healthy. Go win a football game. 3 interceptions and the bottom falls out.
It even goes back further, doesn't it? I mean, 2020, that loss in Cincinnati, rookie Joe Burrow.
I think, I can't remember if that was their first win on the season or if it was like their second, but they were a very poor football team when the Titans went on the road. It was kind of like the Cardinals beating the Cowboys. It's just they lost, and it's not in the way that you expected them to. And then it ended up being, Greg Joseph was very much gone. Was it Greg Joseph? Not Greg Joseph. That's the kicker. Who am I thinking of? Jonathan Joseph.
Oh, yeah, the corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That poor guy. 33, a cursed number. Deion Lewis, Jonathan Joseph, and Jadeveon Clowney, like all the issues. Vic Beasley got cut after that game. There was trauma.
Who's 33 right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
I don't think they have one.
In camp, I think it was Ward, the running back. But
on off, they had a 33 defense too. I don't think either of them made.
Maybe Guerre.
Guerre was 33, and Guerre's on the practice squad, and he has been a practice squad call up for a game. So 33, maybe not cursed, but for Jonathan Joseph, Deion Lewis, results not ideal. So there is a degree, I think, of this that comes associated with the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't want to do that, and Lucas, I didn't mean.
I'm so skeptical at you right now.
No, you shouldn't be.
You're like, I don't want to hear. Stop coming at me with your BTS. Where I feel like you are the one bringing it up.
No,
I've not seen this.
I get drowned in it. You have access to my mentions on social media. Please go through there and see all the positives.
Not going to.
That you please. It's like taking an acid bath every time I open my phone. It's hard for me not to be the way that I am.
Stop living on the internet. That's what you do, though.
It's my job.
You look through your mentions and then just assume that that's real life, and that's what everybody is thinking about this week.
Well, Twitter is becoming more and more real life, and it scares me in ways that are deeply problematic and that come up in therapy on a regular basis. But like, I came in here today and I read you the score from Monday Night Football last night. What was it?
It was 1960.
And I didn't know that until I looked at the score. I didn't realize that until I brought up the box score to go through this with you to open the show and realized, oh my God, that's the score of Titans Bengals, number 1 overall seed. Ryan Tannehill, 3 interceptions. Again, cosmos aligning. Terrible. But I don't want to do the BVS thing. BTS, not interested. No battered Vols syndrome, no battered Titan syndrome. I just think that there is far too much doom and gloom for 3 weeks in. They got their asses kicked on Sunday. I'm totally acknowledging that. And I am not the person that is going to spin positive for you in the ways that they lost. They got punked. They are one of several NFL teams to get punked. Jerome Ford is being interviewed right now on the NFL. Well, this is a replay of Good Morning Football, but I guess it's from this morning. Jerome Ford, Browns running back, who caught a touchdown over Azeez Al-Shaair because Al-Shaair is eyes in the backfield and lets the guy go right by him. Terrible mistake. Jerome Ford being interviewed right now on national television because he had a great game against your football team. But it's 3 weeks in. Bengals are vulnerable. Browns were too, and they got you. You have a shot to get some feel-good back. You have a shot to take it to a team who has done well against you in the last couple of outings. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs had struggled with Joe Burrow until they didn't all of a sudden. This is not something that I think Titans fans, while there are problems, right? We brought up Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton is allowing a perfect passer rating to NFL quarterbacks that he faces. He's only played 2 of the 3 because he missed the game, the week 2 win over the Chargers. Why did he miss the week 2 win over the Chargers? Hamstring. Disaster start for Christian Fulton. All right. There is that. Andre Dillard, disastrous start to the season thus far. Manageable through the first 2 weeks, disaster in week 3.
Bottomed out. The offensive line bottomed out after a good enough first 2 weeks.
Yes. Now, heading into week 4, you watched Monday Night Football last night and probably thought what? Oh my God, Trey Hendrickson. Joe Burrow with a calf strain. He doesn't look good, but he'll get right against the Titans. Surely they all do.
That's what I was about to ask you, because that is a fear, right? That Joe Burrow getting right on Sunday the way Deshaun Watson did. And Watson, it wasn't an injury thing. It felt like it was an execution thing, maybe a confidence thing. We weren't sure. But he got right against the Titans, right? Had a big day. So is the bigger concern to you Joe Burrow doing just that and getting right against a secondary that has struggled this season, or is it that Bengals front against this Titans offensive line?
The bigger concern is the Bengals front.
You know how many different Bengals players registered a sack last night?
They sacked Stafford 6 times?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
5.
Okay.
5 different. They were coming from all over.
Because I know Hubbard got there. Yeah. I know the safety got there.
Hendrickson had 2 of them.
Hendrickson was very much involved in creating for others like they did successfully. And by the way, Lou Anarumo, pressure god, the defensive coordinator of Cincinnati, is just as good a coordinator as is Jim Schwartz. So let's not sleep on the Bengals defense here is the larger concern to me. Now, that doesn't mean that you can sleep on Joe Burrow, because as soon as you start to stall out as an offense yourself, what happens? He hits a couple of chunk plays because T. Higgins had a bad night, but they've still got Jamar Chase. They've still got other playmakers. Mixon got involved, and they found ways to get in the end zone. They're good enough to do it. Hell, you had Joe Burrow dead to rights, again, in the playoff game. It wasn't Joe Burrow that outright beat you. The offense fell apart. So the larger concern here, and we'll talk about that at 12:20 with the Bengals on defense against this Titans offensive line, that is the larger concern here. But it doesn't mean that this is a football team that's dead to rights, is my larger point. I get why people are going to come into this game, this week, this opponent, with certain feelings from games past, seasons past, on and on it goes. And I think that we've repeated this over and over. If you've heard it, if I'm in reruns for you, I'm sorry. But it truly is week-to-week results. And we are still within the first quarter of this season. So while the Browns' returns were disastrous, disgusting, historically bad in the sense that they had not struggled that mightily on offense in damn near 50 years of professional football by that franchise, as Oilers or as Titans. I acknowledge all of these things. You cannot wave the white flag as Cincinnati gets ready to come in here off their first win of the season on Monday Night Football, already waving the white flag. Because Lucas, while you know, there's most people, I don't know how most people are reacting to this. Like I said, we see more negative interactions than we do positive because positive people are less likely to, you know, complain or react to certain things, right? If you're satisfied, you're less likely to speak out about something. But I do think that, you know, in the same way that that we're going into this week, people coming in here on Monday, how many of them were actively advocating for, all right, Malik Willis, just give me something to be entertained by the rest of the season. I don't care about the results. We can't compete. It's week 3. The Arizona Cardinals just won a football game. Somebody's going to figure out how to stop Josh Dobbs at some point in the NFL season. The Cardinals are not, I think I can say with confidence, Cardinals not going to the playoffs in that division where the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks all exist. But the idea of actively sabotaging a season or thinking that you cannot compete just because you got punked in a game is the kind of loser mentality stuff that I'm not prepared to abide. I had the same feeling about, you remember week 2. It was early on in the season last year. They got punked in week 3 this year. They got punked in week 2 last year. Buffalo. Similar vibes. The margin of victory for the Bills is greater than what the Browns were able to do to them, but this was a result that Bills fans also said, you know, don't feel threatened by the Titans at all. Never at any point. And the Titans had the Bills number to that. You know, year over year, they had the Bills number. You came out of that, at least I came out of that, feeling like I'd been sold a false bill of goods about the Tennessee Titans 2 weeks into the season. And it didn't ultimately end up mattering as consequently as I thought. I thought that, you know, we'd all been coping throughout the course of training camp with, yeah, okay, maybe A.J. Brown is gone, but they have some stuff here. Hooper looks okay. This Phillips dude, Ryan Tannehill seems to like him. All right, maybe they can find ways to be a more balanced offense, if not a more explosive offense. And then, of course, we were all fools. But there was a portion of that after week 2 when you lose 41 or 42-7, where you're looking around and being like, oh, my God, they're frauds. Frauds. Straight up. And they were in it until one play in the final game of the regular season with the opportunity to win the division on the line.
They went on a run after that, right? Starting with that Raiders win, where what did they do? Win 7 of their next 8 after starting 0-2?
Yeah.
Because they were 7-3 after the Packers win, and then is where the losing streak obviously started.
Yeah. So I'm seeing responses in the chat. Gaming Mailman on YouTube. Buck, just be honest. You know damn well we suck. D2 squared. Agree to disagree, Buck, but also you are what the tape says you are, and I fear we aren't winning many games with what the tape shows the offensive line to be. Music City Malik, same old story, Buck, just watch. See, this is BTS. I'm not doing it. There is no, if you want to give up on your football season 3 weeks in, go for it. Don't drag the rest of us down with you. I think that is such a toxic existence. As somebody who is not particularly interested in rah-rah fan stuff either, because that's not my vibe, I think the idea of sacrificing or not sacrificing, but becoming disinterested or saying, we suck, so what's the point? All of this stuff that I see a tendency to immediately devolve into. And I get it. You are losers in 9 of your last 10. It's hard for you not to kind of pick that up a little bit. When you go so long, when you go a full week between games and it's leading up to another letdown, right? Another letdown. I'm acknowledging that there is some reason for you to feel that way, but also I'm not going to do it on a week-by-week basis with you, and I'm not interested in carrying along that discourse. It's kind of like, what do you want Ryan Tannehill to say after the Saints game, right? Do you want him to say, yeah, I suck today. There's nothing I can do to get better. Do you want him to do the Sam Darnold? You want him to say seeing ghosts? You want him to say that out there publicly in front of a microphone? Some of you did. And call it accountability? You want Mike Vrabel to say, our football team is terrible. They're terrible right now. There's nothing I can do. It's just a bizarre response from people that I've never been able to quite wrap my head around, even as I acknowledge, a lot of times your football team's tough to watch.
That's just fanhood, though, man.
No, I don't.
The thing is, that's the most easily dismissible thing when people say, just throw Malik out there, season's lost anyway. That is the easiest thing to dismiss and then move on, right? Because, well, they're not going to do that. They're going to actually try to win their games. And then we move on. And then we talk about the upcoming game. So I think it's wasted energy a lot of times to spend this much time talking to people that come in, say, just throw the kid out there, season's lost. Screw it. Just tank, throw the rookie out there, see what you got. It's so easy to just dismiss and say, okay, not happening. Well, let's move on.
Now, some places I'm willing to agree with you, right? Where you're just not going to change some people's minds about stuff. There are conversations in sports that just end up devolving, but like that to me is also a form of waving the white flag 3 weeks in. You know, like I feel like I'm allowed to be dismissive of the people who are dismissing their football season 3 weeks in. Because that's really the only approach that I'm taking. And while I acknowledge that it can be a part of fandom, that's not a part of fandom that I'm interested in engaging with. That's the beauty of the radio show. We can choose which parts we want to engage with, and I'm not interested in engaging with that stuff. It's kind of like, you know, Andre Dillard got ripped. Andre Dillard got ripped for acknowledging that Myles Garrett sunned him after the game. And he said, you know, I asked him the question, do you appreciate the constructive criticism? He said, yeah, I appreciate the constructive criticism. I'm trying to get better. It can be a pretty telling thing from Andre Dillard. And also, I can acknowledge, you know what? Andre Dillard is out here trying to get better, even if he got sunned by Myles Garrett after the game. There's no purpose in hanging your head 3 weeks in. You can do it for a day. We'll give you Mondays. We'll give you Mondays after losses to do that. The rest of the week, no. We're not doing the silly bleep. 615-737-1045 is the number. Clayton in Nashville is next.
Hey, what's going on, bud?
Not much.
It's annoying. I've lived here my whole life, and for the city to give up on our team 3 weeks in, it's just annoying. Like, how long were the Browns bad? They showed up and they filled that stadium, whether it was bags on their heads, whatever it might have been, but they supported their crappy team. And I just don't like how the city of Nashville bails on the Titans after 3 weeks. But I'll hang up and listen to what you got to say, man.
I appreciate it. Listen, people are allowed to be pissed. There's a degree of, there's an in-between, right? You don't have to go to extremes. You can look at this. There's always going to be the wackos that are saying fire the offensive coordinator after 3 weeks. I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking about the people like, what's the point? What's the point? Well, there's so many more football games to be played, and they are so few and far between that I would think, listen, I would think that you would want to try and enjoy them more than you actually than it seems that a lot of you are so early on kind of, I don't know, apathetic. 615-737-1045. No apathy when it comes to our high school football heroes. We'll be joined by FRA's Bobby Council coming up next.
as Kennard takes the snap, fakes the give, throws right. There's Council wide open, jumping up to catch the football and waltzing into the end zone.
That's Will Bowling on the call. Franklin Road Academy's big win over East Nashville last weekend, 42-21. Bobby Council joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Bobby, what's happening?
Nothing much.
So what was going right for y'all on offense? Obviously a big day for you specifically, the 6 catches, 167 yards, 3 scores, but as a unit, what was clicking?
As a team, I feel like, we started off a little slow, but we all started clicking on many cylinders as we started, getting together as a team. We didn't really look at each other, really get doubt from, a slow start in the beginning. But, as a team, we kind of started clicking around on all cylinders, and I feel like that was really, helping us strive to the win this past Friday.
So I cover the Titans, and we bring up slow starts a lot when we talk about football games and kind of the advantages that you can give yourself by, not putting yourself behind the sticks early, or operational issues, penalties, things of that nature that can lead to slow starts. How do you kind of protect yourself against those as an offense?
I really feel like it's the small things, penalties and, the minor mistakes that you make as an offense that really, put you behind the sticks. So if you can avoid a lot of those minor mistakes, you can really, drive the ball down the field and, stay in front of those sticks instead of get behind them.
Do you guys know you had a play to score a touchdown on the first play of the game?
I really didn't know he was going to score a touchdown on the first play of the game. Coach Geis really set us up for it. He told me Monday that was going to be the first play of the game, and I really didn't expect it to be a first play touchdown, but I'm glad that it was.
FRA's Bobby Council is here with us on 104.5 The Zone, this week's high school football hero.
Bobby, we've been doing these games on The Zone for a few years now, and I got to say, that was one of the gutsiest performances that I have ever seen from an individual player on these Friday night games. We go all over Middle Tennessee, man, but not just what you were doing at wide receiver, but what you were doing defensively, flying to the football, punting the football, and just playing through injury. So many times you hobbled off the field and just kept going back out there. What were some of those conversations like on the sideline? How tough was it to keep you out of that game?
Some of the conversations on the sideline was that, they were asking me what's wrong. And, I was kind of getting frustrated because, I really don't like going down. And I would truly do anything for the team that we have right now just because of the relationships that we built. And, that's one of the biggest things at FRA is the relationships that we built. And, they really couldn't really hold me out. So they were asking me, am I good? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Just take me up, and I'll go back out there and keep fighting with my team.
So you guys are now 6-0. Big region game coming up at home against Davidson Academy. When you think about long-term goals for this program after winning 10 games in Coach Geisinger's first win a year ago, what does that look like for y'all in terms of long-term goals and what you believe you can accomplish this year?
As a long-term goals, I feel like Coach Geis says it a lot. It's not about the wins or the losses. What makes us good as a team, because you got teams all around Middle Tennessee that has players, if not as good as us or better, it's the relationships that we build as a team and with the vulnerability that we have for each other, because we can look beside each other and tell each other that I got their back and he got my back. And I feel like that's the long-term goal, is to have those relationships, because those will last forever.
Are we keeping you out of class right now or your lunch break?
Lunch break.
Oh, well, then we got to let you get out of here. Bobby Council, kind enough to give us some of his time. Bobby, we appreciate it. Continued health and success for you this season.
Yes, sir. One more thing before I go.
Yeah, you got it.
We have a camp November 4th at 8 a.m. It's a free combine hosted by FRA coaches and NFL alum. You can find the sign up at our Twitter or Instagram or our school website.
What was the date again? Can you give the date?
Yes, sir. November 4th.
November 4th. Okay, we'll be looking out for that. We appreciate the heads up.
Yes, sir.
That's Bobby Council with us on 104.5 The Zone.
It was fun to watch on Friday, man. That dude just kept trotting back out there, scoring touchdowns, 3 scores on the night. You read his stats, I think, 6 catches. First play of the game, just a little dump off into the right flat. He just turns it up the sideline, gone. And homecoming night at FRA, big win for the Panthers to get to 6-0 in their first ever meeting against East Nashville.
Agent Eston in the FNM Bank chat says, "What happened to no free ads?" Well, I was I wasn't expecting him to be handed a live read promo. It sounded I heard papers rustling in the back.
Hey, I respect that.
No, I would. That's smart marketing by whoever put that in front of him, or said, "Hey, quickly."
November 4th.
Get off the line. November 4th. There it is.
FRA football. Check out their website or their Twitter account, which is at FRA. Oh, I want to get it right, so I'm going to wait till I pull it up. But big game for them coming up against Davidson County.
Where's the 104.5 The Zone game of the week this week?
We are headed to Carthage, somewhere we have not been before. I'm looking forward to this. Smith County, a 2A program, off to a nice start. They're 5-1. They host Upperman, the Upperman Bees out of Baxter, a 4A program coming over. A little cross-classification action on Friday night.
Mighty Bees.
Yes, and Upperman is 6-0 on the year, coming off a big win against Cumberland County. So it's going to be a fun game. I think it's the best game of the Mid-State this weekend. 7 p.m. kickoff. We're on the air at 6:45. By the way, at FRA Panthers FB is where you can find them on Twitter, and the link to their website in the bio, and go check out that November 4th
Did you also get handed a live read that I didn't know about? Am I supposed to be doing a live read for this thing? Why is everybody doing promos?
No, nothing like that. Just passing it on. Don't get all. You're good. Don't worry about it, buddy.
I just wanted to
You're gonna be okay.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
It's just a football camp.
Okay, just
All
making
right.
sure. No, but listen. You remember when we first started doing this? We had people calling in and say, "Hey, this is such and such from the I'm the best Titans fan in the world podcast. You can check out my podcast wherever you get your podcast." And then went into their opinion about the Titans. That's all. That's all I'm looking for. Let's talk about the Titans coming up next.
It is 11:58. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios as the Titans get ready to return home Sunday at Nissan Stadium to host the Cincinnati Bengals, who were 19-16 winners over the LA Rams last night on Monday Night Football. Titans made a transaction yesterday, bringing back defensive back Dane Cruikshank to the practice squad. Cruikshank was a fifth-round pick by the Titans in 2018 and was with the team through the 2021 season. Most recently was with the Chicago Bears. Around the NFL, the New York Jets making a quarterback signing. While Zach Wilson will remain the starter, veteran quarterback Trevor Siemian is signing with the Jets per Adam Schefter. That is pending a physical. Siemian spent a brief stint with the Titans in that quarterback room in 2020. Also around the league, the New York Giants say running back Saquon Barkley is day-to-day with an ankle injury that he suffered in Week 2 against Arizona. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour on this Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with us, whether that's on the radio, on the live stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. The app, podcast after the fact, we're happy to have you. 615-737-1045, that's the number. Got some phone calls to get to. We will do so here in just a little bit. But as we turn our attention from Browns to Bengals ahead of this weekend's game, Titans have an off day, back on the practice field tomorrow. We'll hear from Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill. Then, what do we stand to learn about this football team this week? There's an ongoing debate in the F&M Bank chat currently about the quarterback. Again, I'm not interested in doing that particular conversation. I think that's the one thing that we can agree through 3 weeks is not changing, right? The quarterback. There's no Ryan Tannehill trades to the Jets. They're signing Trevor Siemian. No benching Ryan Tannehill for Malik Willis because we all acknowledge that Ryan Tannehill is still going to give them the best opportunity to win football games this year. In the absence of actively tanking, he'll be out there.
Jets fans have to be going through it.
You know how badly Jets fans are going through it? They wanted Carson Wentz.
This has to be painful.
They don't even get the bad quarterback that they wanted.
I mean, we put it to a poll. Are they the most just down bad fan base in the NFL right now?
Yes. The Dolphins,
right?
The Dolphins and the Commanders have been there. The Commanders got new life this offseason with new ownership. The Dolphins have an offense that scored 70 points on Sunday. So I think if you're talking about long-suffering fan bases, 2 of the 3, Browns look like they might be
I'm just talking about through 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like, who feels the worst after week 3 was the poll that we put out. I put the options Bears, Broncos, Jets, Giants.
Jets.
I think it's got to be Jets just based on expectations. I'd agree with you.
What
you thought you had and what you did have until you didn't.
Did you see what Joe Namath said on Sports Talk Radio in New York today?
Yeah. He's not the guy.
I'm going to read you this quote. It was as damning a thing. Oh, it was on Instagram. I have to go back through my likes. I don't know how to find my Instagram likes.
He said they got to get Zach Wilson out of there. He said that the Jets have not made good decisions in the front office. Yeah, it's a horrible situation because you felt like finally they did everything right. And
they felt like finally they did anything right or did everything right.
I did too. Right? I said if they were ever primed for a run, here it is. They got all the pieces together, and then it just gets torpedoed 4 plays in.
Okay. Here's the quote. On the Michael Kay show, so that's ESPN New York, it's disgusting. I wouldn't keep him. I've seen enough of Zach Wilson.
Oof.
From the only Jets quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So, there's a lot of fan bases that got punched in the gut 3 weeks in, all right? And the Tennessee Titans stand to improve, need to improve. I don't know if they stand to improve. Whether they stand to improve on anything remains to be seen. They need to improve They need to win against a conference opponent. They need to win at home. They need to hold serve, at least while they have these opportunities, because they have 9 home games this year. What's the difference, though, in the Titans' 9 home games versus another NFL team right now?
One of those is across the pond.
International. You are the home team in London. That does not serve your home field advantage, the strategy of sleeping in your own bed, all the advantages that playing at home should bring. So you're already working against something like that. You have the offensive line deficiencies that you do. The problems in the secondary are continuing and worth paying attention to, because they cannot survive giving up these coverage busts against teams like the Saints and teams like the Browns, where the passing games are struggling otherwise, and you're the team that they get right against. Difference between Saints and Browns: Saints weren't able to cash in on the red zone. Browns didn't need the red zone. They went for 43 yards over your head, or Jerome Ford leaking out of the backfield while Alshair's got his eyes in the backfield. These are slip-ups that shouldn't happen through 3 weeks.
Who was it?
ESPN. That's not a ringer. That's you heard the vibrating, vibrating through the phone?
We all heard it.
Or
Bob.
through the microphone.
What's the notification?
It's ESPN breaking news. Uh-oh.
Does it need the sounder?
I don't know. It's somebody being named MVP in a league. You decide.
Oh, I got that. Yeah.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
The New York Liberty's Breanna Stewart was just named the WNBA MVP, the first MVP winner in franchise history and second to win the award with multiple teams. People are going to be mad at you for stopping the show with that. Madder with you than they are with me for that.
And put your phone on silent. How about that?
It's on silent.
Well, I heard it, so it's not that silent.
It's a disaster. I can't figure out how to mute my text notifications on my laptop during primetime, and I have to have the sound on my laptop during primetime. My gambling group text goes crazy anytime anything happens in Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. So Bird is trying to get through the end of his segment last night and just pinging, constant pinging, because I'm in a group text with 20 degenerates. Anyway, TK says that deserved breaking news. Yeah, that's right. What will be the thing that we learn about the Titans this week? Well, Mike Vrabel was asked a question about how the vibes are, basically, and this is what the head coach had to say.
Well, that this is when you play like that, you're gonna lose. You're gonna get beat. So we have to understand that. We have to realize why it is that we lost, and also realize that you can define your culture by what you look like when things aren't great, when things don't go well. And yesterday they didn't go very well, and we'll find out what kind of football team we have this week, and what kind of individuals, what type of people we have here, which I believe in, and who we are. So that was my message. It was wouldn't have a whole lot to say, give them all credit, get back to work, and don't think that anybody did enough to help us win.
We're going to find out what kind of team we have this week, says the head coach. Okay. What kind of team do we think they have right now? You had conversations on the postgame show with Kevin Dyson about offensive identity. Do we know the Titans' offensive identity through 3 games?
It's a tough question. I mean, I think...
So no is the answer.
Yeah, I guess not. But it's 3 games under a new offensive coordinator, because we've seen wrinkles and elements of the Titans' offensive game plan through 3 weeks that we didn't get used to under Todd Downing.
Mm-hmm.
And at times even Arthur Smith, though Smith obviously did more with what he had. So I think they're still formulating that identity.
Okay.
And they didn't even get a chance to on Sunday. I mean, there wasn't even a chance to show what you wanted your identity to be on Sunday.
No, you got mugged.
Because you were getting mugged in the backfield before you even had a chance to pick your head up and look for the hole if you're Derrick Henry.
Derrick couldn't do anything. Tannehill couldn't do anything. The opportunities that they had got missed. Snowball effect is the result.
And how often does it feel like we've been in this spot with the Titans?
27-3. What kind of spot are you talking about?
On the spot of going to figure out who we are this week, needing a bounce back, right?
Every other week.
Well, which game last year? Do you remember the Crossroads comments from Mike Vrabel? Was that after the Buffalo game last year?
No.
Was it later?
It was later because I think it was Philadelphia.
That's right.
I think it was Philadelphia because I remember it was an away post-game press conference because I know we were sitting in some kind of dark closet doing that post-game press conference. I want to say the Crossroads stuff was Philly. And that was before the slide really started. That was still, I think, a November game.
No, I think that was during the slide.
No, it was during the slide.
Yeah,
but
that was during the 7-game losing
John
streak.
Robinson was still the general manager at Philly. And then I think was fired.
The next week. And we found out he was fired at Toy Field, which is always within the first week of December.
Yeah, so late November, the Titans were still, 2 weeks at most removed from winning a football game.
And so, obviously they didn't win again that year, but let's look at how they responded, what the performance was like the following week. I'm just curious.
I think the following week, was that not the Bengals at home?
We'll find out.
Okay. You get back to me on that. I think he was fired the next day. That was the Monday at Torrey Field show because that one of you screenshotted my face as I looked at my phone getting the news on the air live that John Robinson had been fired.
They followed that with the home loss against Jacksonville.
Oh, and that was bad. So that was not a response. That was an ass kicking.
Then they went to the Chargers and were in that game, right? Tannehill's in and out. Skoronski tears his ACL, and then Eric Dicker kicks a game-winning field goal in L.A. Then the Texans lost with Malik. Then the Cowboys lost in a game that didn't mean anything, and Josh Dobbs gets thrown out there. And then the Jags game in Jacksonville.
So the Crossroads, they got kind of crucified on their own crossroads after the comments because those were not. The Cowboys game, Kevin Byard did everything in his power to keep them in that game, as did Josh Dobbs, and it just simply wasn't enough, and they sat a lot of dudes because it didn't matter. The Jacksonville game was Trevor Lawrence. That was the best performance by Trevor Lawrence in a road game to that point. It's like the best passer rating, the best, touchdown. I can't remember how many touchdowns he had. They couldn't get to him because Jeff was hurt at that point. The ankle was continuing to languish. In fact, Jeff or Autry might have missed that game. I can't remember which game or which player missed that game. One of the two was not available.
And they got off to a fast start. Henry had 96 rush yards in the first quarter, but turnovers derailed them. Jags held the ball for a while and had the opportunity to get it back in the second half. But the point is, we've gotten sort of used to the Titans being good in bounce back areas, right? Mm-hmm. Like they were in week 2 against the Chargers.
Yeah.
So do we see that this? And that obviously didn't happen through the last 7 weeks.
We got used to it for a couple of years. It's been 10 months now of this.
Sure. And then we saw it in week 2 against the Chargers. And now here we are again with them having to show that.
Mike Vrabel does this. So here's the thing, all right? Because Jeff Simmons got asked a question. I'm pretty sure it was by Kaharski in the locker room afterwards about, is the coach better play better stuff resonating? And Jeff gave a response basically, no, it's tired. We need to something at some point it needs to happen as opposed to it just being repeated. And people took that as Jeff throwing the post-game script away, right? Speaking on his own terms. Yada, yada. Well, okay, whatever. Mike Vrabel does this analogy where he talks about horse racing and puts the NFL season within context of a horse race. And the final quarter of the NFL season being when the NFL season really starts. Because I remember the first time he did it in front of media, fans freaked the bleep out. Because they're saying, wait, you're saying September just doesn't matter? You're just giving up on the first month of the season? And of course not. But he does make that analogy to the team. I don't know if he still does it. This was a couple of years ago when he first talked to us about it in a press conference setting. Do we think that... So basically what we're asking you is through 3 weeks, do you think that they're still finding their footing? Do you think there's something else to be found? I don't... The results are so extreme is the problem. Because New Orleans, the game was there. The quarterback melted down. Los Angeles, you played a good football game. You played a good football game on both sides of the ball. You ended up coming out the better at home in overtime. Cleveland, you did nothing. You did nothing but punt well and make a field goal. And even that you made look hard because you lost 9 yards on the drive. So these are extremes that are happening from week to week. And the question is there a middle ground that makes this team a more competitive version of themselves? I believe that answer to be yes. I don't know if that's a false bill of goods. It's too early to say. But I'm more inclined, just doing the analysis and playing the results around the NFL, that the Broncos are not going to lose 7-8. What was the final score? How many of the points did the Broncos score in that game? Because Russell Wilson, that's the crazy part. Russell Wilson started the game pretty well.
70-20 was the final in Miami.
I'm going to assume that the Broncos are not going to lose by 50 every week.
Let's ride.
Damn it. All right, we'll get your phone calls on this coming up next. We'll also talk about the Bengals defense and the work that they did last night and what the Titans need to be prepared for. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
That was Chargers. So, obviously, the only home game of the year. Yeah, he came up to the Titans radio booth after the game, after the Chargers game, still wearing his big Fireball Titans chain and his jersey and everything. So, no, Slay always smells good. You know this. God, you are so hard to please, aren't you? Free food just angers you for whatever reason. I've never seen somebody just so against free food, like so bothered by it.
I'm not bothered by it.
Like I will tell you,
Put it away. Safely store it.
Someone will drop off like, hey, there's chicken nuggets in the break room, and you're like, ugh. Like, you just make this guttural, horrible, like it's just the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah, because it looks like a scene out of Nat Geo anytime there's free food in the break room. That disgusts me. You know what? In fairness, that does.
So high and mighty. My goodness.
It's like you people haven't eaten ever, okay? There's food, and so you're going to pass a Kroger on your way home. If you're that hungry, go pick up some Cliff Bars or something like that. The way that people descend upon the break room in those moments actually does disgust me. Yes, you're right.
Just too cool for school.
No, just concerned about your well-being. And then when you get the stomach viruses that you and Bert, sick on the same day because God knows what you're eating that's been out there for 17 hours. Yeah, I get to talk bleep. You're right.
Do you enjoy living this way? It seems like an awfully exhausting and miserable way to live.
There's a way of living without stomach pain, and I'm very much in favor of it, especially since you tried to poison me on air. We haven't talked about the fact that chip killed a person. You could have killed me on air. Our ratings would have been great, but you could have killed me on air.
If there was ever a way for you to go out, I feel like that's how you'd want to go out.
What? On social media?
Yeah, something that would posthumously get you like 10,000 more followers.
You're right. I die for the clout. Lay your body on the line, something like that. We're trying to talk football at some point this segment. Let's get to some phone calls, see if you guys can't get us back on track. 615-737-1045. Scott is in Goodlettsville.
Hey, guys. Hey, I don't know. Do you think that Coach Vrabel ever had a thought that Jim Schwartz knew every play that he was going to call? Because obviously it looked like it. But for the gentleman that called in earlier complaining about Titans fans being down after 3 weeks, how many years are we going to go with no pass defense, nobody to throw the ball to, a running back that's called the king that gets 20 yards in the first half? I mean, the fans have a right to be upset. And, it's, you got Titans one day and you got, who is that team the next day or the next week? So, what do you guys think about it?
About the Schwartz, just to be specific, Scott, you're asking what do I think about Schwartz?
Yeah, I understand. I got so much on my mind. I got too many topics. Sorry, but do you think that Vrabel ever thought that Jim Schwartz knew every play he was going to call? Because it sure looked like he did.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. So they did change the offense. And I brought up the comments from A.J. Brown last year, right, when the Titans played the Eagles. And A.J. went on the Raw Room, which is Darren Bates' podcast, former Titan Darren Bates. They did the podcast with A.J., and A.J. said they didn't change a damn thing. From 21 to 22, I gave the Eagles everything. They didn't change anything. Checks, kills, all of it. It was still the same. We punked them. This is different because Tim is not Todd. And while I think that Schwartz would have been able to Schwartz clearly figured them out either way. Long story short, I don't think Schwartz knew what Tim Kelly was going to do. I think Schwartz knows the personnel as much as he does the play calling. He'll have an idea of what they want to do. He knows they want to run the football, right? He wasn't going to let them run the football. Everybody knows the Titans are going to run the football at some point. That Derrick Henry is going to be the thing that you have to stop. The question is, can you do it? Browns did. I don't know that Schwartz knew the play specifically. He knows the personnel really well. They've turned over a lot of pieces and parts, but you know who else was in Philadelphia at the same time as Jim Schwartz? Andre Dillard. That's like, Dillard wasn't on the football team last year, but it doesn't mean that Schwartz doesn't know personnel. This is the thing about NFL football teams. They know everybody that you've got. Most of these teams scout all of these players across the league. So the coaches will have a general idea of who's got who, what their strengths, what their weaknesses are, because they've got the scouting profiles on them from college. And sometimes they translate, sometimes they don't. But I don't necessarily know that it was a matter of Schwartz knowing the plays, as you've alleged there. I do think that Jim Schwartz is a good enough defensive coordinator that he can pants just about anybody in the league, and on Sunday he got Tim Kelly.
On the sack at the end of the second quarter that causes the Titans go into halftime down 10 instead of down 3 or 7, is that a product of Schwartz knowing where the Titans wanted to go there, or is that Myles Garrett putting a dead possum in Ryan Tannehill's lap in 2 seconds?
Can you play that clip? Did you set that up just to play the clip? Because I'm glad that you did.
That's not how I started it as, but it is what it came to.
I saw this on social media yesterday. If you did not hear this exchange on Blaine and Mickey yesterday, just let it ride. I'm not even going to give you context for the dead possum comment that Lucas just made, but it is hilarious, and I'm glad that Lucas brought it up because we absolutely need to hear from Blaine and Mickey after yesterday's loss.
And thought it was her cat.
Is this?
And so she
X-rated?
she started rubbing this cat, and she thought, "Why is my cat so wet?" So she's rubbing this cat, and this cat is so wet. And all of a sudden, she realizes it's not a cat. So she jumps out of bed, turns on the lights. Laying in her bed is a possum.
Oh my gosh! Oh my!
That had come
How the
in.
heck did that get in there?
Her dog had carried it in through the dog door and brought it to her and put it in the bed with her.
A dead possum or alive?
No, live. But what do possums do? They play dead. So when the lights came on, he froze. He just played dead. She had been petting him. How many times yesterday did Myles Garrett bring Dillard to Tannehill like a dead possum? He just kept bringing it to him over and over again. And all I could think about was this possum in the bed with my friend Margot, because he just kept bringing him Dillard. He just kept bringing him right back to him.
This is the best story you've ever told right here.
So what they thought was a wet kitty was a possum that had been caught in their sprinkler system.
No, it was Andre Dillard.
It was so good.
I don't think any show has had a better moment ever. There's only a certain kind of person that can identify with the story that Mickey Ryan just told. Not just a possum in your bed, but the dog bringing you the possum because the dog is either trained to do so or the dog, some kind of hunting dog.
No, it's clearly you are not a dog person.
No,
the
God,
dog
no.
is just bringing, like cats do this. Like, here, I brought you something. I brought you this because I love you. The dog is not trained to bring possums into the home.
I showed you what my cat gave me. It looked like I got slashed.
But
Anyway.
do your cats ever do that? Bring you dead animals?
No.
You let them outside, right? They don't catch like a bird or something and bring them to you?
My guy, these cats came in from the outside. They are very content to sit on my lawn furniture outside, and they don't leave the perimeter.
But cats will do that. They will catch a chipmunk or something and mangle it.
Oh, come on. I'm allowed to say that the possum that the dog brought in from the outside in the woman's bed is a country story. I'm allowed to say that.
Sure. But there's possums all over Tennessee.
No, I know. There was one. Mine, I thought, were possums for a period of time.
But that analogy of Myles Garrett just bringing Andre Dillard to Ryan Tannehill and saying, "Here you go.
Here, bud."
It is so genius.
I'm doing this because I love you. It may not feel like it in real time, but I love you. It's just so good. But, it speaks to the larger issue. Here's the thing. It's not just Myles Garrett doing those kind of things to Andre Dillard. And I know that, I'm blanking on the Saints defensive end's name.
Cam Jordan?
Cam Jordan. It's not just Cam Jordan, though. Granderson was getting Andre Dillard with the bull rush. He can be got a certain kind of way. okay? And it doesn't take Myles Garrett to get there. The problem is when you have Myles Garrett, it completely wrecks a game plan, and also when Chris Hubbard can't hold up on the other side, as he was not able to do consistently on Sunday. So they got a particularly kind of exposed that they were not able to, that they are not equipped. They are not equipped to face a pass rush like the Cleveland Browns. I'm perfectly comfortable saying that. How many other teams have a pass rush group like the Cleveland Browns? There are a few teams in the NFL. The Titans might be one of them. But it's not that many, so there are some of these games that are survivable. I'm not saying that that's not something that's said to make you feel better, to try and put a positive spin on these things. It's just not everybody has a Myles Garrett. They will face T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt will be a problem. They will face Trey Hendrickson on Sunday. Trey Hendrickson will be a problem. But some of these things are survivable. Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith beating both of your tackles was not on Sunday. Steve in Nashville is next.
Buck, thank you for taking my call, sir.
Mm-hmm.
How are you?
Good.
Interesting possum story. But, I'm not going to stand up for Ryan Tannehill at all, but I think he had 4 sacks against, and y'all touched on this too, against the Saints. We're going to see how, I'm just going to throw it out there, we're going to see how dumb Mike Vrabel is. He did not replace Dennis Daly last year. He clearly has a problem. The solution is probably Skoronski. The guy blocked for 4 years at Northwestern. I believe he let 1 sack in. Y'all can look that up. But we'll just see how dumb Mike Vrabel is. I'm going to leave it at that. Y'all have a good one.
Well, wait. Just a second, Steve.
Yeah.
So if they leave Skoronski and they make the change, but it's Radens at left tackle, is that just a different degree of dumb? Is that less dumb? Because I think they're going to keep – I am almost certain that barring disaster, Skoronski is going to stay where he's more important to them, which is on the inside to mitigate some of the best pass rushers in football, because those guys like Jeff are getting paid $20 million a year.
So let me throw a question back at you.
Okay.
If Skoronski allowed 1 sack in 4 years at Northwestern, I don't care if the guy's arms are 3 inches long and he's a T-Rex. The guy allowed 1 sack, and Aiden Hutchinson was part of that too. So I would put Skoronski outside, and I'd put Radens inside.
Okay. I will respectfully disagree with that. I don't think Radens is strong enough to consistently play on the inside the way that they need Skoronski to. I think that while I acknowledge what you're saying about, basically what you're trying to tell me is that you value the left tackle more than the left guard, and I completely understand why you would say that. I'm saying that as a coaching staff, they value the ability to protect the interior of the pocket because it is harder for the edge guys to get there. Now, it hadn't been against Dillard, and I don't know that Radens would be substantially better. I don't know that about Radens. I really haven't seen Radens play left tackle that much. So I'm kind of trafficking more in the unknown of Radens than I am in the known of Dillard. But what I am saying consistently, what the coaching staff is saying consistently is, hey, the interior pass rush guys are the ones that cause the most problems. Garrett, when he wants to be an even bigger problem than he is outside, what do? They move him inside against the guards. Now, at some point, the best guys in the league are going to get you. And Skoronski's a rookie. He's going to get got. It's a question as to whether his skill set is best equipped to protect on the edge or protect on the interior. They're saying it's on the interior. I'm not saying that the coaching staff knows all, right? They have made mistakes. They will make mistakes. But I don't think that Skoronski is one of them. I don't think Skoronski inside is one of them.
But it is an interesting question.
It is an interesting question.
Of not just will it be Skoronski, regardless of who it is, because I agree with you. I think it'd be Radens first. But what is that breaking point? Because you think about how long it took to get to that breaking point with Daly. What does that look like now with Dillard if it continues to be like this?
His point is, does it take them 15 weeks to make the change the way that it did last year? Is his larger point.
That game was on December 18th. That Chargers game.
Middle of December, for sure.
Yeah.
Week 15. And remember that Daly started the game. It took a drive or two before they benched Daly and put Radens out there. And then Radens, unfortunately, tore his ACL. So, his point was, we'll see, in his words, we'll see how dumb Mike Vrabel is. I just don't think that they can go longer than the bye week. If it continues to be this bad with Dillard. Like again, most of you probably want them to make a change before Cincinnati comes to town. I'm going to say that that's not going to happen. I'm pretty confident in saying that they will not bench Andre Dillard before the Bengals come to town. You can consider that right. You can consider that wrong. I with almost certainty, I believe that Andre Dillard, as long as he's healthy, will be the left tackle on Sunday. But if it continues to be this poor and they get to the break after London and they haven't made a change, then we can talk about some serious malpractice there, because they can't do this 2 years in a row. They can't just try and gut it out for 2 years in a row, because Radens may not have been much better than Daly, but at least they were doing something. They were showing everybody something, that you cannot be allowed to fail that this often. They had to help. The most infuriating thing about that drive, about the only damn drive that got into the red zone on the Browns all year, not the drive that they got inside the red zone because of the fumble. At the end of the second half, when they're driving down the field, when they're having success down the field, when they get the play to Chris Moore that they need to stop leaking oil to give themselves at least a chance at 3 before halftime, they chip on Dillard's side the entire way down the field. And then they ask him to win by himself for one play. And he doesn't. He's a professional athlete. I will admit, I felt bad for Andre Dillard on Sunday. I did, because I think he's doing everything that he can. And there's ripping him up and down doesn't accomplish anything other than, I guess, to make you personally feel better. But as a professional athlete, as a person with pride, you are asked to win individually on one play as a starting left tackle in the NFL, and you can't do it. You do it so poorly that your quarterback gets you thrown into his lap. You miss your opportunity at not just 3, but to give yourself some kind of confidence heading into halftime. When you know you're going to get the ball back, yeah, sure, you go 3 and out in the first drive of the third quarter. But at least you would have given yourself a chance at a field goal, and you couldn't even do that. That is the most infuriating thing about it. They asked him to win one play, and he couldn't. Which one do you want me to take?
Cheeseburger.
Okay, cheeseburger.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing today, Buck?
Hi, buddy.
Hey, I'm doing well, too, man. It's Tuesday. Hey, us Titans fans, Titans players, they're going to flush this loss. Hey, we're going to bounce back Sunday, and we're going to put that shame on the Bengals Sunday. The Bengals are going to wish they came to Nashville again. It's time for us to give Joe Burrow and them a payback. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Hey, Buck, give a shout-out to my Florida State Seminoles for what they did Saturday in overtime against Clemson. How about them Noles, baby? And what would you think about maybe if the Titans maybe throw the Bengals off a little bit this Sunday? Maybe start Malik Willis, put Malik Willis out there. Maybe then put Tannehill in there later on. Switch it up a little bit, do a little bit something different. You think maybe they should throw maybe instead of start out, giving Derrick Henry the ball, maybe throw the deep ball, catch him off guard a little bit, and I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, you had the music ready. He didn't even rap for you.
Damn, Cheeseburger.
You disappointed?
Yeah.
But he gave us the hottest take that Cheeseburger has ever said. Start Malik Willis.
I was just hanging on for the music.
Throw him a curveball. Do the 2 quarterback system like the Texans beat Malik Willis with last year.
But yes, FSU pulling one out at Clemson. Big win for the Noles.
Go Noles. We love Cheeseburger's visits. All right, there's more phone calls. We'll get to them on the other side. We'll wrap up the show and some polls coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. That's the number. Let's go to Curtis in Nashville up next.
Hey, Buck. Thanks for taking my call, man. Question I had for you guys is, I know, if the offensive line continues to struggle like this, right, and we know where Tannehill's contract is and what he might be next year, at what point do we might see a changeover in quarterback, although it might be rough on them, too. What we might see is, I think they happened in the league last year, right? They might struggle because they have nothing really good around them, so I just wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on that.
Would they play another quarterback not named Tannehill?
Yeah, just to see what they got, right? Because they have two that they've wasted a couple of, I don't know if they've wasted, but the two that they've taken some draft picks on, right, the last couple of years. So I think at some point, right, they have to see what they have.
Yeah, well, I mean, that point would be if they are out of the playoff race, they might do that. But, I mean, for people who are asking that question, again, I remind you, you play in the AFC South. You're never actually out of the race. Do you know who the AFC South leader is through 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's Colts. 2-1.
As we all figured at the start of the season, that the Jags would suffer from just the worst drops on offense. I watched that Jags-Texans game back yesterday for the first time. I'm mad for Trevor Lawrence. I'm actually upset for Trevor Lawrence through 2 weeks. Calvin Ridley went from looking like a great acquisition in the first half of the first game to a legitimate problem for them. And it's not just Calvin Ridley. There's a lot of stuff that some of the drops are turning into turnovers. Like, it is a bad situation for Jacksonville when they're getting good enough, if not great, Trevor Lawrence play. That's not ideal. Your thoughts?
The division's going to go all the way.
So
all the way to the end.
Your question is, when will they be out of the division? And the answer is, they weren't out of it until they lost 7 straight. They lost 6 straight and weren't out of it until the last week when they lost 7. So Ryan Tannehill, as long as he's healthy, is going to be the starting quarterback this year. That may be deflating to some of you, and I guess I get it, but it's not like a Marcus Mariota. When Marcus got benched, we all knew that Marcus was the problem. It was just a ticking clock on how long Marcus was going to be the problem. Now, I will acknowledge to you that Ryan Tannehill is not a good enough player at the quarterback position to elevate an offense the way that Mahomes or Allen or Burrow or Lamar. He's not an elite player at the position. Not all of those players are elite players at the position. 2 of them might be. There need to be better things around Ryan Tannehill for him to have more success. That is your quarterback situation this year. If you can't find ways to elevate him, he is not going to further elevate you. And that frustrates you, but it is the current situation for at least 14 more games, as long as he's healthy. Polls, please.
The Buck Rising Show's almost done. Yeah. We have come to this portion of the program where we update the poll. Yeah.
Settle down, Beavis.
Go ahead, update them, Buck. Buck.
We're gonna score.
Hey, Buck.
Buck doesn't update the polls, dummy. You're stupid.
Yeah. Time for a poll update. Hey, how's it going, man?
You said poll.
Yeah. Lucas Panzica. Yeah, are you threatening me? I am the great Cornpolio.
Hey, Lucas, can you update the poll? Lucas, give us the deets, dog.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. What in sports made you say, oh no, over the weekend? Coach Woodruff says the Titans' offensive line. Bama fan for life, says Andre Dillard, trying to block Myles Garrett one-on-one. Karen says it was Notre Dame throwing the game away with only 10 men on the field in the final 2 plays. Tyler says Caleb Williams getting hit in a very unpleasant place by an unexpected snap. Have you seen this?
I did see that.
Oh, it's so bad.
We didn't even talk about Mac Jones trying to, sack tap Sauce Gardner.
Man, yeah. I mean, Jones I saw something. I don't know if Jones is going to get anything, a suspension, a fine, or what, but that wasn't a great look. But Williams is in the shotgun, and he's checking something, and then he's kind of looking at the sideline. Then he kind of walks up to the center, and he puts his hand out. And as he turns his head to look away, the ball is snapped, and it hits him. And the way he just drops to his knees.
It's pretty bad.
Man, poor Caleb Williams.
Mine was Sean Payton, but it could have been the Swifties because the Swifties' reaction to the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift combination. We have not done the TMZ segment that is currently taking place in the Chiefs locker room, but I mean, it's that whole experience is crazy.
Yeah, if and when they break up, they're gonna come at Travis Kelce.
Did you see that they've got women on TikTok already writing like the Taylor Swift lyrics about what it's going to sound like when Travis Kelce and her ultimately end up splitting up?
They're pretty good.
It was something like "You fumbled my heart" or something like that. Like it was a whole parody. It's great.
Arrowhead through the heart. Yeah, no, banger coming soon. Whenever that happens. Vibe check. How are you feeling about the Bengals matchup after watching them on Monday Night Football? V-Love says the day I stop thinking the Titans will win every game is the day I die. Vibes forever high.
Well. V-Love is a different breed of super fan. One would think a lot of people are spiraling after 3 weeks. I'm not interested in the spiraling, mostly because I'm going to be there on Sundays no matter what, and so I would rather not have that be my experience already 3 weeks in.
Zach says he thinks the Titans' defensive line should be able to get more pressure on Joe Burrow than the Rams did. Several people watched what Trey Hendrickson and that Bengals front did last night and are scared.
Yeah, we'll get more into the Bengals defense tomorrow because they did have a day against the Rams. 6 sacks of Matt Stafford.
Which NFL fan base feels the worst after week 3? Bears, Broncos, Jets, or Giants? 52% say Broncos, 31% say Bears, 14% Jets, 3% Giants.
That's recency bias. The Jets fans feel way worse. You're nuts.
Yeah, but Bears, I mean, it is a dumpster fire from top to bottom right now. And with the Broncos 0-3 and just haven't even had a whiff of what success might look like under Sean Payton.
Imagine being the Bears and knowing that Mahomes is just throwing a touchdown to Kelce because his girlfriend's in the stands watching. That you are the team that they're doing that against. It's almost as disrespectful as Myles Garrett almost drawing a delay of game penalty because he's in motion.
What's your biggest concern with the Vols coming out of the UTSA game? Andrew says consistency. Team likes to disappear for a whole quarter. Karen says it's still the secondary. Tyler says it's Milton's knee injury.
It's the offense. Just generally the offense is a concern.
There's a pulse.
Excellent. That's the show. Prime time tonight. We'll talk more Titans football. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I know you will because Blaine and Mickey may have more possum stories. Whatever they're doing, it's coming up next.